The story of Cain and Abel is one of the most well-known in the Bible. As the first siblings mentioned in Scripture, their legacy carries important spiritual lessons that are still relevant today. The Bible first mentions Cain and Abel in Genesis 4:1-2, where Eve gives birth and declares, "I have gotten a man with the help of the Lord." The Hebrew word for gotten is kana, which sounds similar to Cain's name. As they grew older, Abel became a shepherd and Cain worked the soil. Genesis 4:2. It's interesting to consider their occupations, since both were essential. As a tiller of the ground, Cain fulfilled God's command for humanity to fill and subdue the earth. Genesis 1:28. Abel's shepherding honored God's creation and produced animals for sacrifice. In Genesis 4:3-5a, we read about their offerings to the Lord. In the course of time, Cain brought some of the fruits of the soil as an offering to the Lord. And Abel also brought an offering, fat portions from some of the firstborn of his flock. The Lord looked with favor on Abel and his offering, but on Cain and his offering he did not look with favor. Genesis 4:3-5a. It's not immediately clear why God preferred Abel's sacrifice over Cain's. But as we'll explore next, Scripture points to issues with Cain's heart, not just the type of offering. When God accepted Abel's sacrifice but rejected Cain's, Cain became furious. But was it unfair of God to disregard Cain's offering? The New Testament provides insight into God's reasoning. Hebrews 11:4 declares, "By faith Abel brought God a better offering than Cain did. By faith he was commended as righteous when God spoke well of his offerings." Faith is key. Abel gave his sacrifice trusting in God's goodness and provision. His offering flowed from a heart of love. 1 John 3:12 also notes, "Do not be like Cain, who belonged to the evil one and murdered his brother." And why did he murder him? Because his own actions were evil and his brothers were righteous. Cain's deeds and heart were corrupt. He did not give his offering in genuine faith like Abel. So God, who sees people's motives clearly, rejected his sacrifice. As we present offerings to God, our heart attitude is just as important as what we give. God cares more about the giver than the gift. Cain handled God's rejection very poorly. So Cain was very angry, and his face was downcast. Then the Lord said to Cain, "Why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it." Genesis 4:5b7. God gently corrected Cain, urging him to overcome sin. But Cain ignored this plea. Instead, his jealousy toward Abel exploded into murderous rage. Now Cain said to his brother Abel, "Let's go out to the field." While they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. Genesis 4:8. Just like that, the first murder entered human history, a brother killing his own sibling out of envy and anger. Genesis 4:9-15 records God confronting Cain, who lies about the murder and claims ignorance of Abel's whereabouts. But God, who sees all, renders justice. And the Lord said, "What have you done? Listen, your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Now you are under a curse and driven from the ground, which opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you work the ground, it will no longer yield its crops for you. You will be a restless wanderer on the earth." Genesis 4:10-12. Cain's failure to rule over sin allowed jealousy to swell uncontrollably into violence. His punishment matched his crime. He could no longer farm the cursed ground where Abel's blood spilled. After sentencing Cain to be a homeless wanderer, Cain laments that whoever finds me will kill me. Genesis 4:14. God replies, "Not so, anyone who kills Cain will suffer vengeance 7 times over." Then the Lord put a mark on Cain so that no one who found him would kill him. Genesis 4:15. The mark of Cain protected him from vigilante revenge. Bible scholars speculate on its exact nature, but Scripture doesn't provide details. God shows mercy even amidst judgment. He spared Cain's life but expelled him from community. Sin always brings exclusion. From Eden, from God's presence, from fellowship with others. Cain departs from God's presence and settles in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Genesis 4:16. The word Nod means wandering, reflecting Cain's rootless, cursed state. His rebellion against God cost him everything: his vocation, family ties, and relationship with the Lord. The Cain and Abel narrative offers the first example of dueling spiritual legacies, one righteous and one wicked. This theme continues through Scripture and remains relevant today. Even within families, some pursue godliness, while others follow sinful paths.